All right, looks like I'm starting to make a habit out of this. I don't see anybody on yet, but that's okay. If you're watching this on the recording, welcome. I decided I was going to do another flight tonight. So let me minimize OBS. So what we're doing, it looks like the stream is working over there, so that's exciting. Let me just see about the chat. I'm going to pop the chat out over here too. Okay. We are right now in Cecil, Florida, and my long-term plan is to get from Florida back up to the Lehigh Valley, back up to Pennsylvania. Yeah, where the hell is that? Okay, so that's Raleigh there, blah, blah, blah. Basically fly up the East Coast. And when I flew the aircraft down a few weeks ago, we stayed on the coast. So for my return flight, what I actually would like to do is go a little more on the inside. And in fact, I'd like to fly across the mountain ranges, the Appalachians and whatnot, fly through West Virginia, Western PA, and come in that way. So we're going to start that by swinging west in Florida because I have a buddy who lives in Pensacola, and I told him I'd fly over his house. We're not going to do that tonight because the flight from Cecil to Tallahassee is going to be an hour and change in the air already, and that's about how long I like to go on a single session. So here's the thing. The weather report is not looking great. This is the aviation weather map. Yeah, we have weather specifically for flight, and while a good chunk of the journey is open, right at the beginning it looks like we have some messy weather. Plus, the forecast, when I looked at the forecast for Tallahassee itself, it might rain. So rather than flying just pure GPS and then landing VFR, we're going to use instrument flight rules, which means I do a different kind of flight plan. This also means that we are not going to be using VATSIM tonight because, quite frankly, I still suck at communicating with ATC for complicated things, and I don't want to have to worry about getting them a proper IFR flight plan, getting a proper readback, all that other stuff. So we're going to use the built-in air traffic control for this. I hope nobody judges me for that. All right, so what we're going to do is, if we look at Tallahassee on the chart, we're going to be coming in. So there's two main runways, right? A runway going north-south, a runway going east-west. So this runway here, from the direction we're coming, that's going to be runway 27 because we're flying 270 degrees. Now, Tallahassee, being an international airport, say Tallahassee a few times, Mark, will support instrument landing on certain runways. So let's scroll down here, take a look, and see if there's an ILS approach for runway 27. And oh my word, there is. ILS or LOC runway 27. This chart is the important one. This looks really friggin' complicated. I get that, but there's really two things that are important. The frequency of the ILS beacon, which is 111.9, that's up here in the corner, and the glide path information. This chart down here is the moneymaker. Essentially, we come in at 1,800 feet, and we're going to fly using the GPS to get to that location. There are named waypoints. In this case, it's Gassid, then it goes to SPAD, and then there's a couple of other indicators here. But the point is, we come in at 1,800 feet, and ATC should put us there in time. If not, we'll just be aggressive about it. When we hit Gassid, we need to be doing our landing speed, which is about 70 knots, and be at 1,800 feet. This little X right here means that is where the glide path begins. And the computer will catch the glide path, assuming that we've got the frequency tuned in properly, and we are on a close enough course. And once that glide path is caught, it is a hands-off landing until we're right above the runway. The autopilot will bring the aircraft down pretty much to the ground. Now, you don't want it to land the aircraft because it won't flare up the nose and land properly that way, but it will take you virtually down to the surface. I've done this before. It's actually really pretty cool. It feels almost like cheating, but again, it's what a lot of aircraft do in the real world. So, this means we need to actually create a flight plan. So let's take a look. All right, so our departure airport is going to be Cecil. So here we go. And as usual, we're going to leave from a parking ramp. We'll say the aircraft's at ramp 23, just north of runway 9, 27, whatever. This runway right here, yeah, that's 9. On the airport diagram, you'll see there's what look like 2 runway 9s, but only one of them's active. I think it's like a legacy dirt strip. I'm not sure. We're leaving Cecil anyway, so that doesn't matter. For our arrival airport, we could enter the code if we knew it, but I'll just start searching for Tallahassee, and it might help if I type properly. And we want Tallahassee International, KTLH. Yeah, is that the airport? KTLH. Yeah, TLH. Yeah, airports have a 4-letter code. They always, in the U.S., I believe they always start with a K and then a 3-letter code. Now, I didn't actually start using the K until I started playing with the flight simulator. So it's like ABE or EWR. Like EWR is Newark Airport, but technically it's KEWR if you're talking air traffic control or flight planning. Anyway, so we'd like to come in on runway 27, and what we're going to do is, rather than going visual flight rules, we're going to do instrument flight rules in the low altitude airways. Because of a Cessna, I can't get up to the high altitude airways. That would just be silly. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to have a cruise altitude of 6,000 feet. So this shows us our flight plan. We leave, we climb to 3,700 feet by the time we get to Monea, and we end up at 6,000 feet at Tay. We cruise, and then we start our descent, and then we get to Tallahassee, and we're on the ground, and everybody is happy, and there is much rejoicing. All right, am I missing anything else? Let me double check. Now, because we're going to be using the simulator, and we're not going to be using VATSIM, we're going to go with live. We're going to go with all players. We're going to go with live traffic, and we're going to go with live weather. Yeah. So what this will do is anybody who's playing multiplayer in the Florida area will appear as an aircraft. We will also see live traffic. And yeah, the weather is going to reflect the real conditions going on out there. And it's really whatever time it is right now. This is where I'm always like, did I forget anything before hitting fly? I don't think I did. So with that being said, let's hit fly, and then we'll get the VR going. This still takes a little bit to load. I was going to do this tomorrow, but me and the fam, we had dinner, watched TV, and I'm like, I feel like flying. And I knew this trip wouldn't be that long. Like I said, it's about an hour in the air, and with my jibber-jabbering and everything else that goes on sideways, we're good. And yeah, I'm recording, right? Oh yeah, good. The recording says it's going. Fantastic. And I think what I'll do is you guys get to see how I deal with OVR, because I didn't really talk about that in my technical overview this morning. OVR is the overlay software I use to put stuff in the cockpit, and I talked about it, but I didn't really show it. Okay, so now we engage the virtual reality, Control Tab, and that'll fire up Steam VR. And now let's see if OBS is going to be a jerk and make me reset the what the VR looks like. And I'll show you guys what I mean by that. Base station's waking up. Let's go to OBS, and we're going to go to Live Scene VR. I'm curious what it's going to look. Okay, yeah, that's not right. But when I fixed this earlier, it was a matter of going into OpenVR Capture, going Properties, changing the filter to none, and then changing the filter back to Vive Index, or Valve Index, yeah, not Vive Index. And there we go, that's perfect. I guess I should file a bug, huh? Yeah, that would probably be a good open source way of handling it, but it looks like I can see the window on Twitch, so that's fantastic. All right. Yeah, now I go back in the game. Oof. Yeah, very good. And this is where I can put the headset on. Mm-hmm. And stars. It is a pretty night, so there is that. I think those red cars are because of a replacement, a mod I have thrown in to turn to get a Toyota to drive around. I'm gonna have to fix that because it's randomly replacing small aircraft with the Toyota Supra. Or now that's just in a pool of aircraft and it's decided that they're parking at airports, which is weird. So we're gonna take care of that soon, but not right now. That's not a right now problem. All right, let me center the virtual reality, lean back, put my head down a little bit, hit the space bar, and then I sit up and I can see. Now, it occurred to me that this is probably a little weird for you guys because I look around with my head to see stuff, and when I was looking at the video, it seemed a little wonky. Like it might make you a little nauseous or whatever, so I apologize for that. All right, so we're gonna change a few things. I was dorking with some video settings earlier that didn't help, and I want to turn that back to medium just so it doesn't give me any issues. And then, all right, traffic. Let me just double check something. Real time online, nameplates off. Yeah, I don't like doing nameplates on. All right, so we're going to go back, and then what we need to do is we need to change a couple of the assists because we need to re-engage air traffic control. So we want user experience and we want ATC voices. That will let us hear air traffic control because we're going to be using them for what we do. And then let's see, do we have the taxi ribbons on? They're kind of cool, actually. Yeah, the taxi ribbon is on. I'm going to leave the taxi ribbon on so you guys can see how that works because that's neat. Okay, and then we can resume. All right. So OVR. Yeah, let's bring up OVR, and what you're going to see when I do that is it's irritated with me because it can't find certain windows. We're not using vPilot, and we're oh, you know what? I forgot to open the Twitch chat window. Hang on. Let me fix that. So I need to go a new window here. I need to go to Twitch. And then I'll show you guys how we can manipulate these windows in OVR. So we go to my channel, go to channel, and I know you can't see this, I'm, sorry. We go to chat, we go switch to non-mod, and we pop the chat out. And that should make OVR happy. Let's see. Put the headset back on and see what I can see. If I could grab the headset. I have the office light off again because the lights are flickering. Again, I got a guy coming for that in a few days. Oh, damn it. Yeah, and this happens sometimes when Steam VR gets in a mood. So now I need to fire up one of the VR controllers so I can close this window. This is one of the Vive controllers, which I don't use because Flight Sim doesn't support it. But here, yeah, you should be able to see it in here. But I need to hit that to make that return to game. You know what? And I'll stream some other stuff at some point. But right now I'm kind of in a flight simulator mood. All right, so if I hit Control, this gives me my this is the control for OVR Toolkit. I'm in what's called simulator mode. We want to, let's see, we want to set the contents of this window. So we want to select the window, go back, window settings, and we want this to be set contents. And so we tell it that we want Twitch. And there's the chat. Can I get a holla from chat? Holla! Yeah, if anybody's actually listening to me. Yeah. No, I see there's a few people watching, so I assume you all can hear me. And then what we're going to do is these other windows, we just don't need them for now. So we're going to go window list. So this unknown window, we're going to delete it. We're going to delete it. Hang on. I hit the wrong button because I'm doing all this blind. All right. Yeah. There's the Twitch chat. There's Brave. Okay. We good. So I'll backspace. And then, so I can see my Twitch chat and I can see my aircraft chart. All right. Very good. And now I will close the overlays because I don't need them right now. Move the controls onto the surface of my desk. Make sure I'm all centered. Might want to center the windows again. Nah, I'm good. All right, can I reach the pedals? And I'm sitting in the chair that doesn't have wheels on it now to try and make that a little better. Yeah, and I have a feeling if I were in the real aircraft, I'd be moving it around too. All right, the throttle will move all the way. Good. All right, let's actually let's do some flying. I think it's time. You guys have been very patient. Waited long enough. And, oh great. Window doesn't seem to have focus. Be right back. All right. Yeah. You know that the VR window has lost focus when you don't see the pointer, and when you hit the tab key, this guy doesn't show up because this is our checklist. So here's what we're going to do. You haven't seen this yet. This is the ATC window. This is where all the messages from air traffic control show up. So we're going to take this, and we can move this around. And I like to tuck that over here near where the co-pilot would sit, because then it doesn't block any of my other instrumentation. So, and then we can then read and follow along. And then we'll start the checklist procedure. All right. So we start with pre-flight inspection cockpit. We turn on. Oh, I accidentally hit auto completion, which means you did the entire checklist. That was kind of cheating, but we're gonna let it ride. And now we'll do the starting engine ourselves. Okay. So pre-flight inspection's complete. In fact, you know what we're gonna do before because we would have checked this as part of the first stage. We're gonna give ourselves a little more gas. We're gonna gas up to 76%. There we go. That way we have a little more fuel. All right. Seats and belts are good. My seat's adjusted the way I like it.
Seats, belts.
I think it's adjusted the way I like it. I can live with it.
Adjust and lock. Electrical equipment.
All right. So the lights are all off, and I'm going to hide this
switch,
yoke if you all don't mind.
Off.
Avionics are off.
Both.
Good. Fuels are good.
Valve. Open.
All right. Fuel shutoff is open. So now we can start the engine.
Throttle.
Open the throttle.
Open 1/4 inch.
I think it's a little more than a 1/4 inch, but, you know, please forgive me. The engine will still start. It's good. I'll just back it down.
Idle cutoff. Propeller area.
Dude, stay away from the propeller. Come on. Clear.
Clear. Battery switch.
Turn on the batteries.
On. Beacon.
Beacon. Need the beacon on to start the engine.
Mixture.
Rich for the mixture.
Rich. Auxiliary fuel pump.
Pump a little fuel in there. 2, 3, 4, 5.
On 3 to 5 seconds, then off.
Now it's going to
Mixture.
bitch about the mixture.
Clean.
And we push the mixture back in because... Okay, brakes working. Brakes working.
Ready to brake. Ignition.
Contact.
Start.
And that dork walks right in front of the... Walks right in front. What's going on here? Why didn't that start? I don't think it's getting fuel. Did I accidentally shut the valve? Let me try that again. I don't think it was... It sounded like it wasn't getting gas. Pump a little more gas in. Now try starting it. Yeah, the fuel shutoff valve was shutting the fuel off. All right. See, I'm a troubleshooter in real life, and also when I fly fake airplanes. Yeah, so that was, hopefully that's the most tragic thing that'll happen tonight. All right, so we've started the engine. So we'll now start evaluating.
Throttle.
We're at a nice clean idle.
Adjust 1000 RPM. Oil pressure.
Oil pressure looks
Check.
good.
Alternator.
We'll turn on the alternator, which will start generating power.
Alternator indicator. Off.
That looks good.
Meter. Check.
Ammeter's charging.
Avionics switch. Bus 1 and
Turn
bus
on
2.
our avionics, because we need those.
On.
Now you'll see as soon as we
Radios.
turn our avionics on, we've got...
Transponder.
I'm going to auto-complete the transponder.
Standby. Flaps.
Put our flats up.
Up. Heading indicator. Set. Altimeter. Set. Attitude indicator.
I'm going to auto-complete that because I don't feel like dorking with it myself.
Set.
All right, so now that we've got the radios on, we're going to tune to Cecil ATIS and find out a couple of things.
Cecil Airport information kilo 00000. Wind 231 at 6.
Okay.
Visibility.
The important thing we want is the altimeter, which should be at 2998, because you actually have to adjust this. So we need to turn this altimeter knob so that our primary altimeter is at 2998. All right. And then over here, the autopilot also needs the setting because it uses that for the.
Landing and departing runway 18 left.
Now that's in English metric, so we gotta
Direction of flight.
gotta press and hold.
Back hold short instructions. Advise controller on initial contact. You have kilo.
Oh, come on! I am so bad at manipulating these
Cecil
buttons
Airport
sometimes.
information kilo 00000.
Okay, so the altimeter, so it's at 2992,
Visibility.
so it needs to be 2998.
Few clouds at 1,200
There we go.
feet. Few clouds at 4,200 feet. Few clouds at 12,200 feet. Temperature 18. Dew point 10. Altimeter.
And I accidentally touched the other GPS. All right, we're gonna tune to the ground services.
18 left and runway 18 right.
Oh, go back to clearance. Tune Cecil clearance. So this is where we request our IFR clearance and basically file our flight plan. So I just press
Cecil
that.
clearance delivery Cessna November 212 Romeo Hotel IFR to Tallahassee ready to copy.
Cessna November 212 Romeo Hotel is cleared to Tallahassee Airport as filed. Takeoff runway 18 left climb and maintain 6,000 feet. Departure frequency is 127.775 squawk 3445.
Now I would have to repeat all that back, and I do that by clicking that, and
Cessna
my guy
November
will
212 Romeo
read that
Hotel
automatically
cleared to Tallahassee
perfectly.
Airport as filed. Takeoff runway 18 left climb and maintain 6,000 feet. Departure on 127.775 squawk tree 445.
Cessna to Romeo Hotel readback is correct. Contact ground on 121.625 when ready to taxi.
All right, so I filed my IFR flight plan, and now I contact ground to get permission to taxi to the runway. So we're going to do that.
Cecil ground Cessna November 212 Romeo Hotel with Kilo ready to taxi IFR.
Cessna November 212 Romeo Hotel taxi to and hold short of runway 18 left using taxiway Bravo Charlie cross runway tree 6 left Alpha. Contact tower on 126.1 when ready.
And I have to acknowledge the clearance, and I could press the number 1 blind too if I wanted
left
to.
using taxiway Bravo Charlie cross runway tree 6 left Alpha Cessna 2 Romeo Hotel.
All right, so I've got clearance, and you can see those arrows over there are pointing me to the taxiway. So we can now start our taxi.
Taxi light.
So the taxi light's like a little headlight. We're going to
As
turn that
required.
on.
Landing light.
Landing light gives us a better view. Want to remember to turn those off once I'm up in the air. Going to turn the strobe on.
On.
Navigation lights. That's the red and the green light on the tips of the
Parking
wings. They're pretty important because other aircraft then know where
Release.
we're coming from.
Brakes. Test. Rudder.
Okay. Feel like you need to be a little closer to the pedals.
Test.
Yeah, now I really got some rudder in. All right, now I got to actually taxi to see if the turn coordinator works because I need to be moving. Now I need to go to the right so I don't kill this guy.
Check working. Heading indicator. Check working. Compass. Check working.
This bus is right in my way. I've got another aircraft.
Cessna 2 Romeo Hotel, hold position, caution, other traffic.
All right, yeah, basically.
Cessna 2 Romeo Hotel, continue taxi.
All right.
Roger Cessna 2 Romeo Hotel.
Thanks, ground, for pointing that out when the other traffic was in my way. Yeah, now, it's taken me a very long time sometimes to taxi when I'm at other airports, the big airports. And Tallahassee's international. I don't know if they're giant, but I expect it'll be a little kicking when we get there. Just saying. All right, we don't need that top bar up anymore, so I'm just gonna hit tab to get rid of that. And then I'm gonna clear the checklist once we're about to go. I don't use a checklist for takeoff. I probably should, but whatever. Judge me. In fact, we're gonna move the checklist over to the side a little bit because it's blocking my view. Might want to consider turning rather than worry about the checklist. Yeah, I know. Talking to myself. All right. Much better visibility here than last night, I will say. Last night it was a bit of a mess. Oh, forgot to do something very important. Need to turn up. I'm gonna just brake here because sometimes when I fuss with this, I get lost in what I'm doing and I roll off the runway. Where's the lane? Yeah, I want to increase the panel brightness. This is so hard to see when it's dark and from the angle I'm at. There we go. Now I can actually see the instruments a little bit better. And let's set the clock to be local time because it's flying time is always Greenwich Mean Time, Zulu. Zulu time. There we go. So it's 1955, which means it's almost 8 o'clock. Whoa. Hey now, jerky. Going a little fast for a taxi. Let's bleed off a little speed there. This is nice though, especially in an airport that you don't know, having the taxi. Oh, and by the way, I'm supposed to stay on that line. So what I should probably do is spend an afternoon just practicing taxiing properly. And if I were going for my real pilot's license, that would actually not be a terrible idea. Instead, my judgmental viewers can just judge me. You guys aren't judgmental, I'm just kidding. This also makes me think of all the times I've flown for work, and I'm like, oh my God, are we at the runway yet? Because especially at the larger airports, it seems to take so long to get there. Well, This is what it's, this is where we're at. And I get some bad news for you, my friends. You see that navigational marker over there? That's the runway. That's where we're going. Yeah. 1.06 nautical miles away. We're a rolling turd on the ground for another nautical mile. Ain't that fun? The good news is, if we stay at this speed rolling on the ground, we'll be in Tallahassee in 13 hours. That's not good news. But the GPS is like, man, you should be going a little faster, I think. Yeah, we'll look at that again once we're in the air. I think, do I have a ground speed? Because I think I'm not supposed to exceed 20 knots. Oh, my ground speed's 10 knots, so I'm totally good. The ground speed is the little green 10 in the lower left of the GPS. Now it's at 9. And yeah, I don't know what every single instrument does, by the way. Fair warning. So, it's not too late to climb out of the aircraft. Okay. Now I'm told that green and white light flashing, that means that this is an active airport. That's a very bright beacon that can be seen from quite a ways away, and that's how a plane incoming knows the airport's, operating, which is good. I debated doing this flight, in the day, turning the time shifting us to 7:30 in the morning, but I'm like, nah, I'll fly tonight and then maybe do a flight tomorrow in the morning after breakfast in the day. Bang around the Tallahassee area a little bit, maybe continue the flight down the coast to Pensacola. Once I hit Pensacola, I don't know if I'm going to go straight away on the cross-country trip home. I might bang around the Gulf a little bit because it's just so nice down here. You realize, Mark, you can go wherever you want, whenever you want, right? Quiet. All right, we're almost at the runway. I want to be careful we don't overshoot the hold point. These arrows will go to the hold point, and then once I reach there, oh yeah, we got a bit to go yet. Still a half a mile from the actual takeoff point. Once we get to the hold point, the arrows will reset themselves and bring me out to the runway because they don't care that I'm supposed to hold. They just want to get me where I'm going. Good that chat's not active because, quite frankly, it's hard for me to respond to it right now. Do 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 do. 8 o'clock. Hey, we're almost in the air, I promise. We're going to do the full run-up procedure once we get to the end of taxi. And again, the run-up procedure, and again, I'm a novice. I'm learning some of this by osmosis. But the run-up procedure is sort of like your last final test that everything is good before taking off. You make sure that the magnetos, which are an important system, the magnetos essentially spark the spark plugs in the engine, and the engine turning powers the magnetos. It's a perfect symbiotic relationship. No, that's not the stop point because the dashes are on the wrong side. But we're coming up on the stop point. Huh. Oh, that's right. I have to cross this runway. Make sure there's no other aircraft. I feel like I'm almost like violating something, but that's what I was supposed to do. I did not have to call for clearance to do that. There's the stop point. Oh, was it? Oh boy. I'm going to go up a little bit more because normally the arrows stop at the stop point. And I'll just do the run up on the edge of the runway if I realize I'm about to violate it. Now this is where it wants me to stop. Okay. So, stop. So runway 18, that means we're going to be taking off at 180 degrees, which is going to be 180 degrees is to the south, which is to our right. Oh yeah, and there's the runway there. So very good. So before we do that, we're going to do our run-up. So we'll turn on evaluation.
Parking brake.
If we don't turn the parking brake on,
Pilot
we'll
and
start
passenger
moving.
seat backs.
You might wonder why I know that. Perhaps I did a run-up
Lost
once
upright
without
position.
doing that.
Seat belts. Check secure. Flight controls.
Okay, this is where I check the flight controls, make sure they're working. The joystick actually acted wonky on me when I did this last night, so make sure the rudders are working. What didn't it do? All right, you know what? Just do it. You clearly weren't happy with it.
Free and correct. Flight instruments. Set.
Okay.
Fuel quantity indicators.
Fuel looks good. So while I'm thinking about it, because it's had flight instruments check, we need to, we're going to set our altitude before we take off on the autopilot. It's probably going to have me go to 6,000, but I'm going to start with 3,000 just so it's in there. But fuel looks good.
Check. Mixture. Rich.
Mixture's on rich.
Fuel selector.
Fuel selectors both.
Autopilot.
Okay, this is where we do the autopilot test to make sure we can move against the autopilot.
Engage. Flight controls.
Why?
Move against AB. Autopilot.
Turn off the autopilot.
Off. Throttle.
Okay, so this is where we do the actual run-up. So we're going to bring the throttle up to 1800. We're not moving. Always good to check that.
Set 1,800 RPM. Magnetos.
Now we're going to look for is the magnetos are set to both right now. We're going to flip to, yay, virtual reality. We're going to flip to the left magneto only, and we're going to watch to see that the RPM doesn't drop too far.
150 RPM max decrease. Magnetos.
Okay, now we switch to just the right magneto. We make sure that there's a
50
minimal
RPM
difference
max
between the
difference.
RPM difference,
Magnetos.
and then we turn them both back on.
Both. Vacuum gauge.
We make sure the vacuum gauge looks good.
Oil
It's in the
pressure.
green.
Check.
Oil pressure's in the
Oil
green.
temperature.
Oil temperature's in the
Check.
green.
Ammeter.
Ammeter looks
Check.
good. Power's
Annunciator
moving in
panel.
the right direction.
Clear.
No warning lights.
Engine idle.
So now we bring the engine down to idle. We make sure it idles down to 600 to 650.
Check 600 to 650 RPM.
Yep, looks good. And then we park the engine back at 1,000 RPM.
Adjust 1,000 RPM.
All right, so we did our run-up. So before takeoff, we do one final
Radios.
check on a couple of things. So radio's set. We're going to program the navigational radio since we're on the ground. This is a good time to do it. So that's 111.9. So the nav radio, to do that, right now we're selecting the comm radio. We press on this to switch to the nav radio, and then we use these dials to turn it to 111.9. And of course it went the wrong way. Oh wait, 111.9? Let me double check that, 111.9. Yep. And then once it's on, we've tuned it on standby, we press this button to make it go active. That's not going to be helpful until we're in range of Tallahassee, but what we're also going to do is we're going to, right now, our navigation, the autopilot's feeding from VLOC, which is using the VORs. We're not using those right now. We'll switch to GPS, and the autopilot will feed off of the GPS course. There might even be a checklist item for that. Yeah, that could be set avionics.
Set.
But it's always good to set those things when you're not moving, like calm on the ground. You know, just to make sure we're good.
Set. NAV/GPS switch.
And that's what I was talking about. The GPS switch is in the right
Set.
position.
Transponder. On alt. Autopilot. Off.
Autopilot's not
Elevator
on.
trim.
And we're going to have it fixed. The elevator trim gets
Set for
kabopped
takeoff.
out when we
Collapse.
do the run-up.
0 to 10 degrees.
So I had it
Windows.
fix that. Cabin windows, I can't even open them. That's kind of a shame.
Closed and locked. Parking brake.
All right. Parking brake released. Okay. I'm going to close the checklist because I know what I'm doing now. And now we're finally going to tune to the tower and request takeoff clearance.
Cecil Tower Cessna November 212 Romeo Hotel ready to go runway 18 left IFR to Tallahassee.
Cessna November 212 Romeo Hotel cleared for takeoff runway 18 left.
Cleared for takeoff runway 18 left Cessna November 212 Romeo Hotel.
Okay. And as they say, it's all over but the crying. So I'm going to throttle up a little bit to get onto the runway. And sometimes these taxi ribbons don't go away unless you actually run over the last one. It's like a weird-ass video game. So we're going to make sure we roll over the last taxi marker. Oh, no. Otherwise, I have to turn off the taxi ribbons and the preferences, and that's just annoying and immersion breaking. Oh, well, we'll see. All right, but we are ready to go. So, without any further ado, I'm going to throttle her up. The engine torque makes me lean a little to the left, so I give a little right rudder. I'm watching my speed, and I can lift off at around 60 knots. Whoa, we're flying all over the runway here. I got to work on that. Again, I'll just have to spend a day just working on that. Whoop, and we are off. We'll switch to the dramatic takeoff view. Yay. All right, we are in the air. Oof, and Florida's pretty tonight. So we're climbing quickly, right? We're climbing at about, and now I'm using the hat on my control stick to adjust the elevator trim to try and keep the nose up so that we continue to climb, because we're only at about 400 feet. I don't want to really do anything else until I've gotten, as I put it, enough altitude to do stupid things. So forget it. I'm not even going to worry about trim right now. I'm gonna hand fly the airplane.
Cessna 2 Romeo Hotel contact Jacksonville departure on 127.775.
All right, so that's the airport handing me off to departure. I can act that with the number 1.
127.775 for Cessna 2 Romeo Hotel.
Now, if I was being hardcore, I'd have to tune the radio myself, but instead I can just press 1 and then contact Jacksonville departure.
Cessna November 212 Romeo Hotel is at 900 feet, climbing 6,000 feet.
Cessna November 212 Romeo Hotel Jacksonville departure. Continue to Mania as planned. Altimeter 29.908.
Yeah, when you're handed off to these various air traffic control entities, they'll often give you the current altimeter, which is nice because it can drift over time. All right, at this point I'm going to engage the autopilot, which now I'm diving to the ground. Why am I diving to the ground? All right, we're good. We good, fam. I lost a little altitude there, but we're okay. All right, so I need to get to 6,000 feet. That was not very graceful. And then we're going to go to vertical speed mode. And then we're supposed to try and climb at 500 feet per minute.
Cessna 2 Romeo Hotel, please expedite your climb to 6,000 feet.
Yes, my dear. Working on it. Okay, that was a little messy. I wasn't a fan of that sudden drop in altitude when I flipped over to the autopilot, but these things happen sometimes. Alright, and now I'm totally not flying the right way, so let's have the autopilot put us in nav mode to get us on course. It should turn us towards the west. Meanwhile, oh, no compliments on my takeoff. Good, because I kind of pooched it. And here we are. Let's get an outside shot. There's the airport that we left, and then Jacksonville is basically over there. Jacksonville Jaguars! Do you watch The Good Place? It cracks me up with Jason, the monk who wasn't a monk. Alright, oh crap, spoilers. Alright, so now what I should do is I should probably consider turning off the landing lights and turning off the taxi lights, since we are no longer doing either. Good. I spent an entire flight the other night with them on most of the flight, so that was fun. Alright, our airspeed, my throttle, I'm gonna punch the throttle up all the way right now. I'm gonna take my feet off the rudders because that's not the most comfortable thing. And the autopilot's flying the aircraft right now. Man, get that pointer out of my face, yo. I gotta figure out how to park that a little better. I had a point there somewhere. I don't know, just look at the stars, Mark. It's got a beauty shot. Now, one cool thing is when you're using an external view, is you can use the hat on the throttle to check different perspectives around the aircraft. And in VR, obviously, you can roll your head, too. That's the really excellent part about playing with the headset on. You don't have to worry about, you know, I only have a flat view that is a limited camera on my monitor. So that's just really pretty tight. I've played with flight simulators for years, and I always kind of ended up losing interest after a while until I got the virtual reality. So that's just interesting. Alright, so let's take a look. One feature I haven't really showed you guys a whole lot is you can zoom in. So if you look at a panel and you hit the right mouse button, you can zoom in really tight. So there's the GPS, there's all of our other instrumentation, we can read some of the warnings and stuff. There's even, I thought there was some stuff posted up near the top. There was on the other Cessna, the G1000, but what can you do? Mom, I think he's getting bored. Alright, let's zoom this out a little bit so that we see a bigger map. Now, one cool thing about having plotted the IFR route is this is a known traffic route. There are standard navigational waypoints that are part of the system, and if you plot a course using the tooling and use those default waypoints, then air traffic control will kind of expect to see planes in these corridors. So I'm essentially flying on a known route. So here we are at the VFR map, and if I zoom the VFR map out really far, you'll see these markers we're talking about. Monia, you remember air traffic control said to continue approach to Monia, and then Tay is our next marker. Hattie, oh, and look, there's another aircraft right there. And then finally, there's the airport. And what you'll see on the map, you'll see these are controlled airspace for other airports, and our flight route takes us around those without us having to do any work, right? If I just did a straight flight to Tallahassee, that would actually put me through this controlled airspace, and I would need permission to go through it, and it could cause some issues. But because this is a standard planned route, that's not going to happen. So that's pretty cool. How are we doing on our altitude? We're at, all right, we're at 4,800 feet. Let me click the seat back one step. Air traffic control expects you to climb at least 500 feet per minute. So the fact that they can see me, I've got a transponder code squawking. I'm code 3445. They can see me on their scope. They can see my altitude change. They can see that I am climbing at a good manner. They're not going to nag me about it. I did have a flight. I'm going to say it was back when I was up in New Jersey with the other aircraft, and I flew into a cloud and it was freezing, and the plane iced over so much that there was so much ice on the plane that it was heavy, and I just couldn't climb. And I was flying IFR, and air traffic control just kept yelling at me. I eventually just said, you know what, we're canceling IFR. I'm going visual, and then they stopped nagging me. But yeah, I was actually in a situation where the clouds contained so much ice, frozen water vapor, that it was a dangerous situation, and I had to fly below them so that I could control the aircraft. In the end, it was okay. If it was the real world, I would probably have needed a new pair of pants. But, what can you do? Now, because I got an itch here. Because I'm flying IFR, I don't have to avoid clouds. I actually flew through some giant clouds the other day when there were storms going on down near Miami. That's not considered great practice on a small aircraft, but if I was doing visual flight, I would be obligated to not fly through clouds. I hear a jet somewhere, which is maybe a little unrealistic, I don't know. But yeah. So how are we doing? We got we're at a ground speed of 100 knots because we're still using power to climb. Once we get to 6,000 feet, we'll have a higher effective ground speed, I promise. But right now, a lot of that power is being used to climb. And in fact, what I should probably do is lean the engine out a little bit. Look, you see, watch the tachometer when I pull the mixture control out a little bit. As you climb, there's less air, and so you need to control the mixture of gas and air. And I didn't really see too much of a difference, but often it'll pick up like a little bit. It'll pick up some RPM by leaning the mixture out a little bit. But it doesn't seem to be helping right now. All right. But by leaning the mixture, I'll also burn less fuel. It does look a little like I'm in some clouds. I might be getting some water vapor on the plane, which could be slowing me down a little bit too. There's all sorts of physics at work here. Physics, chemistry, all this fun science, yo. Alright, so there's our chart. I realize this also might not be the most exciting thing right now, flying in the dark, but it's pretty chill. And we're about to hit 6,000 feet. You can see the altimeter says we're at 5,800. No, actually 5,900 and 6,000 right there. Our vertical speed is now evening out, and we'll look our speed forward. The airspeed is moving up, which is fantastic. And suddenly our ETE, the time of the whole trip, should be dropping a little bit. because now we're actually making some progress. Yeah, 1 hour 6 minutes. My ground speed is now effectively 116 knots. So that's great. We're now going a little faster. 118 knots. Now we want to make sure our tachometer stays out of the red zone. You can see that the tach is pretty much at the top of the green. I'm going to keep an eye on that, and I might back the throttle down a little bit once we settle and cruise. And our airspeed, we don't want that to ever go into the yellow, but unless I start diving to pick up speed, I don't think that's going to happen, right? I'm settling in at a ground speed of 122 knots. My tach is saying that I'm still in the green zone. My fuel burn rate, that's the over here. There's 4 gauges over on the far left side. Let me point with the mouse pointer. This right here is the fuel flow per hour. Right now I'm burning 14 gallons an hour, and I got about 16 gallons in each tank. So if I burn fuel at this rate, I've got a little over 2 hours of flight time. And fuel can be expensive. This, by the way, is the exhaust temperature. That actually, you should see that change when I change the mixture. And you want that to be burning hot. So I'll push the mixture all the way in, and that'll probably... Does that move at all? So it's 1 dash below that. Let me try leaning it out a little. Oh, there we go. So at 30%, the exhaust temperature is much hotter, and that's good. I'm getting some better combustion. We want to see that, and that'll actually maybe get me a little more power. You can have the computer handle that, but I like to kind of mess with that myself. It is important that when you begin your landing work, that you don't forget to put the mixture down all the way into rich. By the way, you'll see my fuel burn rate's also now reduced. We're now burning, it looks like 14. It looks like about 12 gallons an hour. So we're saving a little money now, which is nice because, planes can be expensive to operate. So if we can burn a little less fuel, that's a good thing. All right, we're coming up on the point on Monia. And now we're pivoting over to Tay. The aircraft is turning. You might have seen the GPS flip. Yeah. Arms up, baby, arms up. Yeah. And we're flying into the darkness. Let's do dramatic look back. Goodbye, Jacksonville area. We're flying into the darkness. I did fly over the Everglades the other day and did not get eaten by an alligator. You'll be happy to know, everybody. So 2998 is what she said my altimeter was. Yeah, I'm still there. And I don't think it's good practice to change the altimeter unless they give you a fresh number. So we're just going to leave that be. If the altimeter is set improperly, your plane can have a misunderstanding of where the ground actually is. Now, most of the time, unless it's wildly off, that's only going to be a couple of feet. But it can confuse. All right, so I'm being handed off to another controller.
Going to 134.4 Cessna to Romeo Hotel.
So we'll tune Jacksonville Center on 134.4, and then we'll contact them.
Jacksonville Center, Cessna November 212 Romeo Hotel, 6,100 feet.
Cessna November 212 Romeo Hotel, Jacksonville Center. Continue to Tango Alpha Yankee as planned. Altimeter 29.908.
Yeah, so that's just a nice little sanity check on the altimeter pressure. She confirmed that it's where it needs to be, so that's great. All right. How's everything looking? Ground speed 107. I'm wondering if I'm kind of kicking into a headwind now. That's a possibility, because yeah. If I got wind blowing against me, that'll slow down my ground speed, because I'm back to an hour and 4 minutes till arrival. Huh. Alright, whatever. It is what it is. Now, what I could do, oh, look. Buy followers. No, I'm not buying followers, HP Madaria 407. I don't even know who you are. And hey, Papa Jarv. Thanks for coming by. Yeah. Should I feel honored that I got someone spamming trying to make me buy followers? I don't know. I'm not going to worry about that. Oh, and I'm sorry. Hey! Yeah. Papa Jarv and I are fellow Red Hatters. Are these guys talking to me, by the way? No. They're talking. She's talking to an airliner. And it's funny because it's using the Windows text-to-speech. So the controller and the aircraft are both using the female voice, so she sounds like she's talking to herself, which is funny. Yeah. Hey. Now what I could do is, if I wanted to misbehave, I absolutely could crack open another window in this browser and browse Reddit or watch a YouTube video or do something else like that. But that seems wicked irresponsible as your pilot. I could also, I guess if I wanted to, I could bring up the Twitch stream in there and see stuff. But yeah, that seems a little overkill. How about I work on just, flying the aircraft? I think that's what I'll do right now. I know this is, what's the word I want to use? Yeah. Scintillating? Yeah. Alright, so we've been in the air about a half hour, right? Because it's 8:29. We were going to tag. Interesting. All right, so again, when we get to the airport, we're going to be at 1800, and air traffic control, if they behave, they'll get us to that altitude properly.
Jacksonville Center Frontier Flight 959er Heavy is at flight level 360, descending 10,000 feet.
So that's something I don't know yet.
Flight 959er, Heavy Jacksonville Center, continue as planned.
So that airliner is at flight level 360. So apparently, when you're at the high altitudes, those flight levels, I don't know if that means 36,000 feet, or I don't know if it's some arbitrary flight level that reflects to a number. And if I had the Google, I could check that myself. But since I've only done the general aviation, I'm not really sure how that works. But the guys who do the heavies, they're talking about flight levels all the time. And again, if you're asking me to teach you the proper way to do flying, you might be barking up the wrong tree. Let's take another glance outside, see what we look like. I think we're in a section of Florida right now that's a little bit desolate. Now, what I could do, I'm gonna humor me for a second here. I'm gonna hit tab.
Jacksonville Center Allegiant 1634 is out of flight level tree 80 for 10,000 feet.
This right here, the weather, what I can do is if I want to, we're going to cheat for a moment. I'm going to dial back. Whoops. Oh, I'm not going to do that, am I? I could actually change the weather. I thought I could change the time in the middle of the flight and basically make it earlier. That seems a little bit like cheating, but maybe it's not letting me do that because when I tried to drag it, it didn't move. Ah, well. That's fine. There's just not a whole lot to see right now.
Cessna 2 Romeo Hotel, contact Jacksonville Center on 133.7.
Yay, I get to talk to somebody. So we're being handed off to Jacksonville Center.
7 Cessna 2 Romeo Hotel. Jacksonville Center, Cessna November 212 Romeo Hotel, 6,100 feet.
Cessna November 212 Romeo Hotel, Jacksonville Center, continue to Tango Alpha Yankee as planned. Altimeter 29.96.
Ooh, we have to change the altimeter. So we'll change it there first on the analog instrument. And then we'll change it here, 29.96. Yeah, I think it's got an inner and an outer dial. But it's kind of hard to grab them, so I never seem to get that altimeter quite right on the autopilot, which is the scary one to not have quite right, by the way. Since that's going to be what's going to be doing my glide slope when I land the plane. Nah. What are we at? 57 minutes to go. I almost want to cheat and jump ahead on the flight plan, but part of me says, no, you can't do that. That's not realistic. Do it the right way, Uncle Mark.
American 1070, contact Jacksonville Center on 134.4. American 1070.
Jacksonville Center, American 1308 is out of flight level 330 for 10,000 feet.
American 1308, Jacksonville Center, continue as planned.
Got an airliner up there. I'm guessing it's an airliner because that's a little high for another Cessna. This thing has an operational ceiling of about 15,000 feet. Although I've never had it up that high. And maybe that's one thing I should do one of these days to see how high up I can get the plane. That could be kind of fun. In a weird scientifical way. Alright, so we're looking good, speed's looking good, exhaust temp is looking good, RPMs are good, heading is good. Yeah, things are solid. This is unfortunately one of the realities of aviation, it sometimes isn't that exciting. It's kind of like driving a car, right? But with a few more dimensions involved and some more formality and complexities. But it can be kind of not too exciting. And honestly, in the real world, you don't want it to be too exciting because that's when things are bad. Okay, here we are. We're coming up on Tay. So that's fantastic. Ground speed still 107. Again, I feel like we're fighting wind because our countdown to the ground is not moving as fast as I thought it might. All right, so we're going to try something here. That's not in any of my buffers. And if I start typing, now that could be bad. That could be bad. Maybe what I need is a virtual keyboard that I could click with my little nose controller. Right, let's see where we are on the VFR map.
Jacksonville Center, generic Mike November 724 is at flight level 430, descending 10,000 feet.
Generic Mike November 724 Jacksonville Center, continuous plans.
So there's stuff going on to the north and the south of us. Alright, so we're about to hit Tay, and now what I want to see is Moana to Tay. Whoa, what just happened? That felt more like a VR thing. The headset kind of suddenly went, whoa! That wasn't the aircraft. And it's Monia, not Moana. I've seen the movie a few too many times, I think. Let me see what... I'm going to try and figure out the navigation here. Flight plan. I want to see my flight plan. So that shows me my flight plan. Hang on a second. Oh. No, it's looking alright. Nothing blocking. Maybe it's just... Sometimes what happens with the headset is that if it doesn't have a clear vision to the lighthouses, it gets wonky. And perhaps when my head is in a particular angle, it's not getting a good lock on. Alright, so what was I looking at? We're now going from Tay to Haiti, which is a distance of... looks like 26 miles, 26 nautical miles. And then from
Generic 724 contact Jacksonville Center on 134.4.
all right. Okay, I think I'm figuring out how this works. No, cancel, damn it.
Going to 1 tree, 4 decimals,
Where's
4
cancel?
generic, 724.
And there goes the wonkiness again. All right, this is what I get for messing around. Cancel. Okay, yeah, that's what I get for messing around with the flight plan. We didn't want to do that. All right, so Patty takes us to the airport. Okay. We're just... Yeah. So this is like, imagine you're messing with GPS in your car, but if you do the wrong thing, it can be difficult to fix it. Yeah, so we're not going to mess with that anymore. We're going to try and get out of edit mode here. What the hell am I doing? Let's go back to nav. I think I've confused it enough.
Jacksonville Center, JetBlue 2074 is at flight level 370, descending 10,000 feet. JetBlue 2074, Jacksonville Center, continue as planned.
All right. Yeah, we're gonna stop touching it because if I keep touching it, I'm gonna break it. This is one of those things where I either need to probably watch a video or two on it or play with it on the ground. Messing with the friggin' autopilot in the middle, the GPS in the middle of flying, that's not a healthy move. Oi. And actually, what's going on here is there's two GPSs. The top one is the one but they can work together. And I'm not sure how that relationship works. Yeah, I don't know. I got nothing. So we're flying. What do we got? Yeah, I killed a few minutes. See anybody in the chat other than HP Madeira 407 trying to get me to buy followers, and Papa Jarv, who hasn't said anything since saying hey. See that? I'm kind of wishing I could see. Oh, I can see who's in the chat. Another viewer. Twitch details. Why do I feel like those aren't...
Delta 2253, contact Jacksonville Center on 135.325.
Kind of don't know who those guys are.
Going to 135.325 Delta 2253.
So this is where you start thinking, is there just an industry of people, whatever, that go Twitch stream to Twitch stream and try and make you buy views? Let's actually see who this is. January 3rd, 2019. Doesn't look like it's any sort of account. January 24th, 2021. Hi. Yeah, it's a nice little person hugging a heart, I guess, which is cool.
For FedEx tree 58.
See, the thing is, I don't even really care too much about the Twitch stuff. I'm doing this just for fun and for posterity. And if my friends want to see what the flying is like, I mean, if for some reason there's an audience for old dudes yabbering while flying fake airplanes, you know, if that's something that appeals to you, then I guess you're my target audience. But I have a very good day job, so I'm not really planning on trying to replace it with this. Yeah, so the big leg for the trip is going to be Hattie to Tallahassee. Papa Jar, Papa Jar. Do, 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 do.
JetBlue 2074, contact Jacksonville Center on 132 decimal tree. Jacksonville Center, Delta 1555 is at flight level 300, descending 10,000 feet. Delta 1555, Jacksonville Center, continue as planned.
Fuel's looking good. We're at about 60%. Remember, we gassed it to a little over 75% before we left. So we're burning some gas, but it's pretend gas, so I just have to pay for it with pretend money. Which is the best kind of money to pay for pretend gas with. I'm a little mesmerized watching these aircraft sometimes. Alright, how are we doing on... Okay, our speed is dropped to 106. Our exhaust temperature is good. Nice and high. Our RPMs are solid. We're pretty much running just below the red line. So I'm trying to get us there quickly, right? Quickly. Number one. Get us there quickly. Well, it was a terrible Jean-Luc Picard, let me tell you.
Spirit Wings 1877, contact Jacksonville Center on 127 decimal 8.
Now again, these aircraft are all based
Going to
on...
127 decimal 8, Spirit Wings 1877.
They're based on current traffic. I guess what the software probably does, I don't think it's smart enough to like monitor real ATC feeds, but there's probably like trigger situations, like when a plane gets to a certain point, the software is like, yeah, this is when approach would contact them, and it fires that off in the simulator, even if that doesn't happen in the real world, which kind of makes you wonder what would happen if the pilot in the real world did something wacky and unexpected. Yeah, I don't know. Like, does it take scheduled flights and just extrapolate where they would be inside of the simulator?
Delta 1555,
I don't know.
contact Jacksonville Center on 134 decimal 4.
Which is why when I know what I'm doing, if I was comfortable doing IFR with VATSIM or like fumbling my way through with the help of a patient VATSIM controller, I would have done the flight that way. But I want the air traffic controllers to have fun too, right? I mean, this is a hobby for everybody. So I don't want them to have to feel they have to like coach my lame butt. Now it feels like things are a little bright. But the brightness is actually coming from, I think, the ATC panel. I'm just gonna close that for now, because that feels like it's throwing a lot of light. Yeah. And we'll hear them talk to us, and we know that a one's an acknowledge. And I can always bring that panel back up if we need to. Know what I mean, fam? Let's see what viewers are online. So, another TV viewer and Twitch details. If you guys are like real people, like actually watching, feel free to say hi in the chat. Or are you evil robots trying to take over the world? We don't know.
134.4 Frontier Flight 10901.
What's cool is that if I miss ATC's call, they'll repeat. They're like, yo, Uncle Mark, did you hear me? Please respond. And all I have to do is find the 1 key on the keyboard, which is over here somewhere. Yeah, tilde and then 1. Okay, we're going along nicely. Now, I'm kind of wondering if it's fogging up inside the HMD or if there's actual clouds. Okay, based on the external view, I think I'm in a cloud bank right now because it's looking kind of foggy. Yeah. That or it's just wicked dark. But I also feel like I'm a little, like I got a little, I'm going to check something. I'm going to take the headset off temporarily and then look outside again with the headset off. Oh, it's wicked dark. Hard to tell here whether or not I'm just overheating and fogging the headset up like it's a giant pair of glasses. I think I got a little of that going on. Yeah, definitely got some of that going on. That's all right. Oh, had a little network blip. That's fun. That won't impact me. That won't impact the game, by the way. Like, the worst that'll happen is if I lose the internet, I'll lose the live aircraft traffic, but it'll still run the simulator for me, which is, you know, the most important part. But now that it did that, do I see other aircraft still? I see me. I feel like I hear something, but I don't see anything in visual range. Let's look on the VFR map. Oh yeah, we got an aircraft on the map north of us. There's just nothing close enough for me to see their lights. That's fine. And you'll see, this tells me I'm dealing with a headwind because you'll see my plane is not directly on the line. Which means I'm kind of crabbing.
Secure Air 407 Jacksonville Center, continue as planned.
Maybe I'm crabbing. Maybe it's just like realizing it doesn't have to fly all the way out to the waypoint either. But my point is the autopilot will compensate for wind, so that you fly a proper heading. See, I'd normally listen to music if I wasn't streaming, but that means I either need to do it through my phone, which might sound like ass for you guys, or I'd have to set up a streaming service, which means I have to take the headset off and fuss with that while the plane is flying. I think I'll just chill a little bit now. Things look good. Actually, where is my phone? I don't know. Do I even have it with... Oh, here she is. There, right here. Whoa! Little lightning! I'm definitely flying on top of some clouds. That was exciting. Definitely glad I'm doing IFR. If you watched my video from the first night, you saw the terrible... Oh! You saw the terrible end of my first flight. Yeah, definitely some lightning. A little scary. And I do have the ability for the aircraft to take damage turned on. So if the wind gets horrific, it could tear the Cessna apart, which would be bad. That would end this little trip real quick. But as you can see from the lightning flashing, I am actually above the clouds. Now, if I was feeling uncomfortable, if I was like, hey, I'm not high enough up, I could radio in ATC because I'm flying a pre-planned flight plan right now. They are expecting me at 6,000 feet. And in fact, if I change altitude too much, they will holler at me and tell me that I'm, you know, below my altitude or above my altitude. And that would be, they'll want me to change it. But what I'm seeing here is the clouds are actually, I'm almost at cloud level. So I'm going to call ATC, going to bring that back up, and I'm going to request cruising altitude increase. I'm going to be like, hey, can I get another 2,000? Can I go up to 8,000?
Jacksonville Center Cessna 2 Romeo Hotel. Request 8,000 feet.
And if there's not too much traffic, if that's reasonable, they'll let me do that. Fantastic. So, yeah, because those clouds are right in front of me, and I just don't want to be going through them. So we're going to go, we've adjusted our altitude to 8,000, and now we got to flip from hold altitude mode to vertical speed mode on, and set it to 500 feet per minute. And now we are climbing to get above this weather. Will it work? We don't know. Let's do the outside view. So when the lightning flashes again, we'll get it should be fantastic, the view.
Secure Air 407, contact Jacksonville Center on 134.4.
Come on, baby, flash. Ah! Dunk, 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 dunk. I can see. Oh, yep, clouds. Oh, you know what? I think we made a good move because we're above those clouds a little more comfortably now. The general rule of thumb is if you can see the stars.
Maintain present heading and altitude. Expect ILS runway 27 approach via Cody's transition. Clear to Cody's.
All right.
Maintain present heading and altitude. Expect ILS runway 27 approach via Cody's transition. Cleared to Cody's Cessna 2 Romeo Hotel.
Yeah. So basically, that's ATC telling us we can come in and we can land. We're cleared Cody's approach. Now that should be on this chart somewhere. Oh, but I'm so bad at reading these. Yeah, Gasset is the one where we turn on flight. We're going to trust that Cody's is on the way, but meanwhile, what we'll do is we'll pull up the VFR map and see if we can see Cody's on here.
Center Spirit Wings 117 is out of flight level 275 for 10,000 feet.
Because this should have the markers.
Jacksonville Center continuous planned.
SPAD. Huh. Huh. I'm not seeing it. Yeah, well. not sure what line map does either. That's kind of awkward. So, CODIS. So one of the things you do in instrument landing is there's these things called procedures. So if I hit the procedures editor, we're going to go and I'm just going to go and take a look at the approach, and God, please don't. Cody's transition. So actually, I think it wants me to go.
Cessna 2 Romeo Hotel, descend and maintain 6,000 feet.
Hackett's the only one. So that's going to be a tough one. So let's go back to navigation mode.
Cessna 2 Romeo Hotel, acknowledge last transmission.
Yeah. All right, so he wants me to go back to 6,000 feet.
Descend and maintain 6,000 feet Cessna 2 Romeo Hotel.
Boy, I don't know how I feel about that. But he's saying to do it, so I'm going to trust that he's not going to take me through terrible, terrible weather. So we're going to do, now we turn vertical speed mode and we go negative. So we're going negative 500 feet per minute. Now this is where, because I'm descending, I turn altitude into speed. This is where I got to be super careful to not overspeed the aircraft. So I'm going to keep my eye on this. I'm now going at negative 500 feet per minute on my vertical speed, and you'll see my knots are creeping up, but I'm still not in what I would consider a dangerous area. And I am floored right now. I've been running full throttle for most of this flight because I'm near the so what I'm going to do is I'm going to back off the throttle just a little bit.
Romeo Hotel, please expedite your descent to 6,000 feet.
Dude, you must chill. All right, you want me to go faster?
117, contact Jacksonville Center on 134.4.
Fine, we'll go at 700 feet per minute. You want me to descend faster? I'll descend faster. But now I'm getting to the point where my airspeed's a little too high, so I'm going to pull off on the throttle a little bit. Keep my airspeed, because I'm kissing yellow right now. I'm getting a little too close for my own comfort. Because remember, energy has to go somewhere, right? And when you descend, if I'm still spinning the engine at the same RPMs, that's going to increase my speed. I feel like this idiot's bringing me right into the clouds. This is why I'm glad I'm doing IL.
West 3256, contact Jacksonville Center on 134.4. Going to 134.4 Southwest 3256.
I'm a little disturbed that I couldn't see that transition they were talking about. Not seeing them on here.
Cessna 2 Romeo Hotel, contact Jacksonville Center on 135.325.
Okay, doing it.
135.325 for Cessna 2 Romeo Hotel.
And you'll hear how they say tree. That's on purpose. That's actually the
Jacksonville
phonetic
Center,
alphabet.
Cessna November 212 Romeo Hotel, 6,100 feet.
Cessna November 212 Romeo Hotel. Hotel Jacksonville Center. Continue to Curtis as planned. Altimeter
2997.
907.
There we go. Altimeter set properly on both the analog and the autopilot. I hope that I wasn't. Oh, stop doing that. I hope that I wasn't messing with the autopilot too much and then screwed something up. That would be sad. I'm going to recenter my view, by the way, because I've been dorking around a little bit too much. No, that's not good. All right, how about this? There we go. Much better. Now I'm taller and can see over the cockpit, the dashboard. I just threw a phone book under me. Actually, I'm pretty. As long as I'm not banging my head. How are we doing? We're a half hour out. Okay, let me increase my speed again, because now that I'm not descending, yeah, see my estimated arrival time is now spooling up because I'm flying faster. We're spooling down, really. What time we got? 9:08. Not bad. We should be on the ground before 10. We should be on the ground before 10 easily. Whether we'll be at a gate, whether we'll be parked before 10, I don't know. That depends on how busy the airport is. And again, I'm assuming that I didn't. I'm going to blame myself, because who else can I blame? That's assuming I didn't screw up the programming when I was messing with the autopilot. Just throwing that out there. Not the autopilot, the GPS. Don't touch it. But what I do have is I have the VOR programmed in, the ILS locator beacon. So as long as I can get us basically to the airport and lock onto that, the autopilot will take me to that horizontally, side to side, and then I can make sure I enter the pattern at, how do I need to enter the pattern? Enter the pattern at 1,800 feet, and we will be safely on the ground. What's going to happen is when I get close to the airport, I'll press this first button, which will switch to the V-lock, which is the airport's VOR. In fact, let me see if I can actually hear that. What I can do is I can turn on the Nav1 radio, and if the beacon's in range, you can hear it. You can hear Morse code, but I don't hear anything yet. I think we're out of range. So I'm going to check that again. I think what I'll probably do, just for sanity, is once we're close enough, I'll switch over to that. And then we won't be actually looking at the GPS at that point for navigation. We'll be looking at this instrument. This is the ILS instrument. The vertical bar is our side-to-side motion. Are we lined up with the degrees of the runway properly? And that instrument transmitted on that channel, 111.90.
Delta 1354, contact Jacksonville Center on 133.7.
The autopilot uses that to line up at center, and then the vertical line is for the glide slope. Once we get
133.7 Delta 1354.
Yeah. Once we get close enough at the proper altitude, what I do is I press, which button is it? Once I'm close enough, I arm approach mode, and then we try and get these little guys to line up in the middle. And when they line up in the middle, I don't fire my proton torpedoes to hit the small thermal exhaust port. What'll happen is that's called catching the glide slope. And you can see it when that happens. It's a very obvious thing, because suddenly the vertical speed will will be adjusted immediately by the autopilot, and those two lines will be locked in the center. And again, the autopilot will take us basically down to the surface, right down to the runway. Yo, science! All right, we're on 20 minutes from the airport, and it's either a soup out there,
Jacksonville Center Southwest 2611 is at flight level 370, descending 10.
or there's nothing to say. And I think what's really happening, I think we're flying over clouds right now. I really suspect we're flying over clouds right now. From the thunderstorm we saw earlier, and I see no lights on the ground. So we have no visual references that we can use. And I don't know about anybody along with me for the ride, but I'm not particularly good at navigating by the starlight. So I'm glad we have the instruments.
Southwest 2611, contact Jacksonville Center on 127.8.
How's our engine looking? Our engine's still just below the red line. Our oil pressure is good, our oil temperature is good.
For Southwest 2611.
That you want to be, I mean, that could technically fail. I don't think it normally would unless you're stupid and you stress the aircraft out too much. But the fact that all these indicators are in the green, that's a good sign. Yeah, you got oil temp, oil pressure.
Delta 2234, contact Jacksonville Center on 133.
Then the vacuum, several of the instruments run on a vacuum pump. So if the vacuum is not in the green zone, there'll be some instruments that aren't reading properly.
133.7 Delta 2234.
All right, and I don't see stars now, which means that I'm in the clouds. Which makes me very happy that this instrument's working, because this shows me my artificial horizon, shows me my pitch, shows that I'm actually flying level. JFK Jr. was not oh, there's the stars again. I must have broken out of the clouds. He was flying a private airplane that they feel what happened is he ended up inverted, and he didn't trust his instruments. He relied on his feeling. And well, that's great if you're a Jedi, if you're in Star Wars. Not so great if you're operating an aircraft. When you fly instrument, you learn. You need to trust what the instruments say, and not what it feels like. It's apparently crazy easy to be accidentally upside down if you lose visual reference, and novice instrument pilots die that way. It's kind of sad. Am I still in? So I was not in navigation mode. I was just flying an arbitrary course. So that's a little embarrassing.
Delta 2234 is at flight level 370, descending 10,000 feet.
I must have hit a control that screwed me up, and the only reason I was flying straight was because I was flying straight. That's great. Fantastic. Ah, that was dumb. And I realized because I actually finally looked over at the autopilot and saw that it didn't say nav. It says nav now. Follow my channel for more high comedy. But now that we're on course, we should be in better shape. And I'm just going to see if we've got any other users. I mean, they're driving up my stats. I guess that's good. But yeah. Hello, airliner. Oh boy.
Cessna 2 Romeo Hotel, contact Tallahassee approach on 128.7.
So this means we're getting close to Tallahassee's airspace. So they're handing us off to Tallahassee approach. Tallahassee approach will help get us where we need to be.
Go Going to 128.7 Cessna 2 Romeo Hotel. Tallahassee approach Cessna November 212 Romeo Hotel 6,000 feet.
Cessna November 212 Romeo Hotel Tallahassee approach. Continue to Cody's as planned. Altimeter 29.907.
Okay, altimeter's still the same as when we last fixed it. So we good. We good, fam. We good, fam. We good, fam. Mr. Richter, please don't ever do that again. Okay. Alright, so this is the part where I'm starting to get a little nervous anticipation because we're getting kind of close. I will definitely, after breakfast, do some visual flying for you guys, I think, because this is kind of... Maybe we'll borrow another aircraft at Tallahassee. Yeah, that could be fun. Or maybe I'll magically teleport myself to Washington. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I could also just do the Pensacola flight tomorrow morning. Rebase there, and then, you know, take it everything. Now, I did check the weather. The weather for tomorrow is not supposed to be particularly good, but it'll be a little. The sights will be a little. I mean, the stars are beautiful. Hello, digital stars, but obviously. This isn't the most exciting view for a lot of people. You know, we're not really seeing anything on the ground, although, wow, I'm seeing some clouds out there. Let's see what we look like outside. Yeah, you see, that's not ground, that's clouds, all that bumpiness. And in the lights we're flying to are probably the lights of the city of Tallahassee. Because we are about 26 miles away from the airport. Okay, they want us to come down to 2600. I'm totally cool with that.
Descend and maintain 2,600 feet Cessna 2 Romeo Hotel.
So we'll dial our altitude to 2,000, but then we need it to be 600. Now there are ways to use the scroll wheel here, which is what I'm going to try to do with the outer knob. Oh no, oh no! Alright. 2,600 feet. Vertical speed mode on, and we'll descend at 500 feet per minute. And then probably back the throttle down a little bit. Because again, we don't want the aircraft to get too fast. We're descending at a good rate. RPMs are good. Airspeed's good. And we get to a point where we don't want to be flying forward too quickly because we'll overshoot the nav points and we'll be too high for the glide slope. Oh, you people are so fussy. Alright, we'll go at 700 feet per minute. So fussy. Oh, we're turning back on course now. We finally hooked up with our own nav line. I should have suspected that there was a problem. I thought we were just crabbing against the wind, but as we got further and further from that, I'm like, what the hell is this aircraft doing? Oh, you're not in nav mode. Oh, imagine that. Is she gonna nag me, or is she happy with my rate of descent now? 11 minutes out. You know what? let's give him a little more speed down. We'll do an even 1,000. Oh, feel your stomach sink. Just watching my airspeed on this one because this is a pretty quick rate of. I mean, maybe it's not particularly quick. I don't know. I generally go at around 500 feet per minute. 1,000 feet per minute seems fast to me. But what do I know? And what I'm kind of hoping is we'll break through the clouds, and there are some rules to this, by the way. Even though it's instrument flight, you're supposed to be able to see the runway once you get to a certain altitude. And I can't read the chart well enough to know what those minimums are. But there's definitely minimums where if you can't see the runway, you're not supposed to attempt the landing. Oh, hi. Maybe she wanted me to descend because that other aircraft was crossing my flight path. That's certainly a possibility. Also, again, I'm getting close enough where they're going to probably try and vector me in to land. But here we are. We're at about 30. We're coming to 3,400 feet. We are getting very close. Let me see if I can hear the marker yet. Yeah, that's the Morse code for the marker. Fantastic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch my guidance. Watch the that ILS instrument. I've now switched guidance to what am I doing? Oh, it adjusted my course a little bit. I'm going to go back to GPS for now because I don't think I was quite ready to do that. Yeah. We're not gonna hit that yet. Let me verify the frequency. Right now I'm dialed into 111.9. Did I dial it in right? Yeah. 111.9. This is for runway 27. Approach course is 274, blah blah blah. Although I'm probably enough out of this, which is why the needle was so off to the one side. So we're gonna let the aircraft get a little closer before we flip over to the ILS to lock onto that. Okay. Well, we're back to we're at the altitude they want us to be at, so we're going to increase our speed again. When we land, once we're kind of on our final approach, we're going to want to decrease our speed. But we're not there yet. And as you can tell, looking out the window, I'm in clouds. Can't see a damn thing.
Cessna 2 Romeo Hotel, you are 14 miles east of Tallahassee. Contact tower on 118.7 when inbound.
Okay.
Tower on 118.7 Cessna 2 Romeo Hotel.
I'm going to switch to the tower now.
Tower Cessna November 212 Romeo Hotel 14 miles east inbound ILS runway 27 approach.
Cessna November 212 Romeo Hotel Tower. Cleared ILS runway 27 approach. Altimeter 29.9 wind 144.5.
Okay, so the altimeter, I'm going to slow the aircraft down a little bit because we got a few things to check. We want the altimeter to be 2993. So that's important. That's enough of a variant that could get me into trouble. So 2993. So now what we're going to do is we're going to set our altitude.
Romeo Hotel, please acknowledge.
Shit.
Cleared ILS runway 27 approach Cessna 2 Romeo Hotel.
Forgot to acknowledge. Now what we're going to do is we're going to set our altitude to 1800. Because I'm cleared for the approach, so that's, I figure I'm allowed to do that. So we'll start working our way down. Got us to 1800 feet. Because we're 11 miles out now. I'm going to switch over to the VOR again and see what happens. She's turning to... Where's she turning to? She's turning... Okay, so the aircraft is turning to try and center that one line. Because I don't think she's happy. So we're going to let the autopilot do its thing and lock onto that instrument at the runway. And what'll happen if this works properly is that vertical line should start to move to the center of the instrument as the autopilot lines us up with the runway. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bleed a little more speed off because we're not that far out. We're 8 miles out, which seems like a long time, but that's about 5 minutes. So I want to give the plane a chance to get to where it needs to be. Now the runway angle we need to be at for landing is 274, which is a little, west is 270, and we're south of that right now. We're at about 260. So I think what's happening, look, see the needles moving, yeah. We weren't on the proper radial for the approach, so the autopilot's handling that right now. Fantastic. I love it when a plan comes together. 18. So once the autopilot, and I got a couple of heavies in the air around me. You always got to watch out for that. So now we're locked on the approach course for the runway, which is fantastic, and you can see that the ground. You can see that the glide slope is now coming towards the circle. So I'm going to get ready to try and capture the glide path by arming approach mode. In fact, I can probably hit that now. So now we're in approach mode. You can see that on the autopilot. Now watch the ILS tool and watch my vertical speed indicator as that line hits the middle there. I will suddenly be on the glide path. Yep, you see it caught the glide path. And now it's controlling using the pitch. And that beep means I hit one of the markers. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to apply some flaps. In fact, I'm going to go for full landing flaps. So the autopilot will now deal with life with full flaps down. So I am very close to landing. I'm 5 miles from the end of the runway. Now the runway itself. Now, so this is the part where I should really be looking for the runway. My speed is about 70. That's fantastic. Oh, and let me, this is important. I should have done this before. Put the mixture in full. Also, I'm going to flip on the landing modes.
Romeo Hotel cleared to land runway 27. Wind 144 and 5.
Cleared to land runway 27
Okay.
to Romeo Hotel.
It's all over but the crying. Let me find my rudder pedals with my feet. Where are my rudder pedals? Ah, there's one. There's the other. Okay, good. All right, I'm going to recenter the screen because things got a little jabopped. Oh, balls. All right. All right, so let's see. I'm at about 1,100 feet. Four miles out. Don't see the runway yet. Don't know what the minimums are, but I should see the runway soon. I got full flaps. My speed is right where it needs to be. I'm going to do nothing right now except let the autopilot take me in. See, this is what you sat here for an hour to see. I think I see what might be the runway. Still 3 miles out. Oh, now I'm blind. No, that's not the runway. That's a highway, a road, something. All right, 700 feet.
LS 299 712 miles east inbound ILS runway 27 approach.
I could.
West 299 tower. Cleared ILS runway 27 approach. Altimeter 29.9 wind 144 and 5.
I got to be ready to turn the autopilot off once I'm over the runway. I am so friggin' close to the ground right now, and I don't see the runway. Oh wait, is that it? That is the runway, my friends. Oh, it's magic. Okay. Well, I could disengage the autopilot whenever because I see the runway, but I'm not stupid. The computer's probably doing a better job than I am right now at flying the aircraft. You can also see off to the left side of the runway are the PAPI lights, the 2 white and the 2 red. That's great. That's what you want to see. If they're all white, that means you're too high. If they're all red, that means you're too low. This means the autopilot did its job, and I will buy it a hamburger as a reward. That's the, I think it's the the middle marker? I don't know. It's one of the markers. It basically means, hey, you're almost here. You're almost home. All right, I'm at 100 feet or so. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to disengage the autopilot. I have the aircraft, and I'm reducing throttle and pulling the nose up to just bring the plane down. And the idea is you just kind of want to gently float down and stall onto the runway. How about some brake?
Cessna to Romeo Hotel, turn next taxiway.
Yeah. I'll get right on that.
72 Romeo Hotel, contact ground on 121.9er.
Kick the flap so I don't accidentally generate lift and take off. Brake a little bit. I gotta acknowledge the ground handoff.
121.9er for Cessna 2 Romeo Hotel.
So that was kind of messy once I got on the ground, honestly. Any passengers would have made fun of me, justifiably. All right, I'm gonna stop, and then contact ground because I'm off the runway, and I'm gonna request taxi to parking.
Ground Cessna November 212 Romeo Hotel, taxi to parking.
Cessna November 212 Romeo Hotel, taxi to General Aviation parking via taxiway Alpha.
Taxiing to General Aviation parking via taxiway Alpha Cessna 2 Romeo Hotel.
All right, so fantastic. I almost was off the taxiway. I need to work on my taxiing. There's not a question about that. Not a question about that. Yeah, it's definitely pulling that Toyota Supra in as an aircraft model, and that is just stupid. And it doesn't work very well anyway. So once I shut down this run, I got to turn that off. Ramp 16. So what I'll do is I'll note in my log that I'm parked at ramp 16. And when I start my next flight, that's where I'll begin the aircraft from, ramp 16. On the ground at, what is 21? 21 is 9:30. So 9:39. Not bad. Not bad, because we were in the air. We were in the air about, what, an hour and a half. We had a thunderstorm going on. So that was exciting. And you guys got to see an instrument landing. I got to be honest, until I saw the runway, I wasn't quite sure I believed it was working. No. Once the ILS instrument started moving in the right direction, I was fairly confident we were good. But it's garbage in, garbage out. If you program the wrong frequency, you can easily end up yeah. And those various hand signals mean different things. Am I actually in the thing? I think this is yellow, so I want them to be green. Alright. So now I think is where I shut the aircraft down. Okay. So to turn off the motor, I pull the mixture out to lean it. And he dematerialized because, I shut the aircraft off. Okay. Set the parking brake. And then start shutting things down. And as soon as I shut off both the avionics switches, the simulator will be like, oh, you're done. And you know what? That's fine. Dude, finish shutting the aircraft. Oh, actually, I'll do it myself. So I'm going to shut off all the lights. Turn off the beacon. Oh, let me do this. Let me turn the magnetos off. That's basically the key. So we want to turn that all off. Turn off taxi lights. Turn off nav lights. Turn off strobe light. I think I got all the lights off. And then turn off the batteries and the alternator. And then we set the we close the shut-off valve, and I think it's a standard to set it to a single tank once you shut down. Yeah, and the electrical system is now off. And the aircraft is, I believe, secure. Yeah. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to drop out of VR mode. Oh boy. Oh. Go over to OBS and do live scene desktop. All right. Well, we got one viewer. That's nice. I'm not sure how. Okay, that's fine. Maybe you can view but not be in chat. But we're just going to minimize that. Okay. Oh man, I've got this sewing chair that I'm in is not very comfortable. Oh. All right. And then what we'll do is we'll go and shut down the virtual reality. So that was, I think, ramp 16. So what I'll do is I got my logbook right here. Oh, I can't see because I got the light off. Oh, there's a pen. So we went on 12 February. We went from KVQQ, Crime or Noob, to, what is Tallahassee? I can't remember the airport code. KTLH. Ramp 16. Success. So we'll go to the main menu. Oh, yeah. Let me see about getting rid of that car. I think I can do it through the internal content manager. No, before I do that, oh my word, I want my more comfortable chair. Woo! Take it from Uncle Mark, kids. Don't get old. All right. So, okay. So, options, or is that what? Is that the profile? Content manager. Here we go. So this is where you can. Ooh. You can install custom content in the game, and it can be folk who, wow, there's a lot of stuff. Folk who make it themselves. It can, the Asobo Studio stuff is all, okay, this is not the way I'm going to do this. This is insane. We will go back and we will quit the desktop. We're going to do this the good old-fashioned way. We're going to go to Drive D, which is where that actually is. And Flight Sim 2000, Community, this folder is where you put custom content. So I'm just going to take Toyota Supra and just drag that sucker onto my desktop in case I decide I want to use it at some point. Oh, it's copying it. That's right, because it's not a Macintosh. It's copying it because it's a different drive. Delete. Empty recycle bin. Die, sucker, die. And now, yeah, I've got a couple of things in here. I've got a redone NASA at Kennedy. I've got the Nemeth is the ultralight I bought. I've got enhanced scenery around the Washington, D.C. area. And then a gentleman made Barnegat Light, which is a lighthouse near where I used to live, which was not actually in the simulator. Which I kind of found annoying because I like flying by Old Barney. And someone's doing a lighthouse project because I guess That's one of the pieces of scenery that's not consistently, that I guess Bing isn't letting them generate properly. All right. Wow, even gave you guys a little lesson in content management. How about that? All right. I am going to call it a night for now. It's a 2-hour stream. I'll just go and upload that to Tube. Thanks for watching. And we'll have a little more light next time, I think. All right, everyone. Be good.